Click the link in the description for your free Amsoil catalog. Before we get started, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of our friends. The Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Search for them on Facebook. Central Minnesota Pond Racing. Search for them on Facebook. The historic Lancaster Motel for the ultimate Eastern trail riding adventure. Crane's Snowmobile Museum at 172 Main Street in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Vintage Snowmobile Club of America Quarterly Magazine. The New Hampshire Snowmobile Museum at Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire. If you decide to advertise with the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast, this could be your advertising message. Well, good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here. This, by the way, is the season finale of season 3 of the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast. And before we get into things, I just want to take a moment and thank everyone who's been viewing with us all along these past 3 seasons. It's been a wonderful ride. We thank everyone so very, very much for their participation, especially for all of the comments in the comment section. That really helps to make this a lot of fun. And we're going to ask for some of that tonight. Comments in the comment section, because we've got a wonderful guest lined up, and I'm sure you're going to have comments and questions for him, so do not be shy about asking those. So with that in mind, we have a wonderful lineup, a robust lineup of Vintage Snowmobile programming tonight. We're going to have the son of the late Morley Smith on with us. Morley was an engineer and designer for Alouette Snowmobile Company. He was the designer of the 1973 Alouette Sno Pro, the Super Brute, and a number of other items. So I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions tonight. We're going to be looking at images and spending some time with Mark to learn all about that. But before we get into all of that, I want to make sure that everything is working properly. So if you can see my face and hear my voice, I'm going to ask you to leave me a comment. Let me know where you're viewing this from and whether you are a first-time viewer or a regular viewer. Now, to our first-time viewers, if this is your first time joining us tonight, I hope you have a good time with us and decide to come back here each and every week. Now, you might be thinking, well, he's contradicting himself there. Yes, this is the season finale, but in this time slot, all through the summer months, I'm going to be airing older episodes of the podcast. So come back here each and every Thursday night, and there'll be something here waiting for you. We, by the way, simulcast to 8 different places across Facebook and YouTube. So wherever you're viewing this, circle back in 1 week's time, and we'll have some Vintage Snowmobile programming waiting for you. Lastly, to our regular viewers who are here week after week and month after month, season after season, you guys are the ones who make this possible and keep this going. And we so very, very much appreciate that. Let's look at some comments here and we'll bring our guests on. My good friend John Spranger Jr. says, "Good evening, everyone from Eland, Wisconsin." Well, good evening back to you, John. Great to hear from you. Dave Lowry says, "Coming in loud and clear from Alberta, Canada. Looking forward to seeing us next year." Cool deal. David from Alaska Railroad, a good friend of this podcast, says, "Good evening." And to Mike and podcast friends, coming in great. Going to miss the sled podcast. We're going to miss doing it too, but we'll have something even more special for you in October when we do it. Pick it up again. We get someone on Facebook saying, "Loud and clear from Sudbury, Ontario." Our good friends and regular viewers, Stacy and Art Fosler, say, "Hey, Mike, sounds good from Platkill, New York. We are regular viewers." Stephen Burdick, haven't seen you on here in a while, but love to have you here. Looking forward to the Alouette information. Wonderful. So we've got some people who are excited to see what we're going to be doing here tonight. Last comment we're going to take before we get started is Reese Fleury, a good friend of ours, coming in loud and clear. He's a regular viewer. All right, well, let me switch gears here. And I just need to get myself in the right place here, bring our guests on, turn microphones on. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Good. Doing good, Mike. Congratulations on 3 years. How many episodes was that?
I think tonight is 61.
Nice.
I'd have to double check. We're in that neighborhood, 61 or 62. And of course, in the center of the screen, we've got Mark Smith. Mark's father, Morley Smith, was an engineer at Alouette back in the day, designed some very historic and iconic sleds. Mark, can we put you on the spot and allow you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what we might be looking at tonight?
Well, what we're going to be seeing is some of the one of the race sleds that he designed. We're going to see Sno Pro. We'll see a little bit of the Super Brute, and we'll see a couple other things that he worked on when he was engaged with Alouette.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, let me get where I need to be here to start looking at images. It just takes a moment because I'm doing this in a way that's a little different than I typically do. And of course, the computer is taking a moment to load. But I'm going to, while we're waiting for this to catch up with us, I'm going to encourage our viewers, if you're fans of the Alouette brand, please leave comments and questions for us in the comment section.
Mark, where was Alouette made?
Montreal, Quebec. They had. How many years? I only knew two facilities. I don't know all the facilities, but they had one time. The first facility that I knew was located up near the Garment District of Montreal, and then the second facility was located down in Point St. Charles.
What years were Alouettes?
From the mid-'60s, the mid-'70s. And then after my father was no longer involved, I really don't know what happened to the company. It was sold and then went to, I think Rupp Industries had it for a while, and I'm not sure what they did with it. We're looking there as there's the 440 Sno Pro.
For sure. And your father was the designer of this. Do I have that correct?
Correct. Yeah. That's if you know my father's designs, you can tell right away from the hood. If you look at not all of his other designs, but the angular shapes of it, you can see it in the taxi that I designed. You can see it in the Montreal Metro. You can see it in versatile tractors. It's his look, that's for sure. You'll see it further when we look at the Super Boot. It gives it a real good idea of sort of his design.
He had a real distinctive flair. And if I understand from reading the information about him, he also designed some of the Metro Railroad cars, subway cars in Montreal back in the early 60s, I think. Is that correct?
That's actually how my parents ended up in Montreal. My parents were in university, Syracuse University, in upstate New York, and their senior year, they were friends with another couple from Montreal, and my father was on his way to, he was supposed to go out to Detroit and work for Ford. He was going to start designing small parts for Ford, door handles, window rollers, all the little things that give the first year designers. And in the spring of his senior year, he went to Montreal with a friend of his, just for the fun of it. His friend was going back to interview and look for a job. My father was already set; he was going to go to Detroit, and he arrived in Montreal, and they had a good time and went to some cocktail parties. And my father met a gentleman there who was bidding on the Montreal Metro, and said, "I think I got a good chance to get it, but I don't have anybody to design it. And if I get it, would you be interested?" And he got the job. My father, Mr. Guino got the job. My father then got the job to design the Montreal Metro, the Metro cars. And my parents, it was going to be, okay, we're going to put the Detroit plan on hold for 2 years. This is going to be a 2-year job in Montreal, and we'll continue our life back in the United States when this is done. Well, obviously, it went for a little bit more than 2 years, and obviously, and after the Metro came Man in His World, and then was the Alouettes and Versatile Tractors and the LRC train, and then he ended up designing a car, a purpose-built taxi. So to make a long story short, that 2-year stay ended up being 60 some odd years, and my parents never left. They,
Wow.
In fact, when they arrived in Canada, they got an apartment. They stayed there 1 year and figured, you know what, we're gonna see if we can make some money in the housing market. They bought a house real quick and said, okay, when we leave, maybe we'll, this city was growing at the time. Maybe we'll make some money. Anyway, they stayed in that house for about 25 years. Then they moved about 3 miles away, and that's the house that they ended up pretty much dying in. So,
Wow.
Yeah,
That's wild. Isn't there a saying out there that says life is what happens while you're making other plans?
Exactly what happened. I mean, it was what turned out to be a fun little party weekend in Montreal. Ended up being 60 years here.
Wow, that's amazing. And it sounds like, for all intents and purposes, it was a wonderful ride, that 60 years.
Oh, my parents cannot complain. I wish I had a life like they had. So
Sure.
it's
That's nice. Very cool. Well, now that I have this photo album open, let's click through some of these images, and I'll just start clicking. And then as you have stories and anecdotes to go with them, please share them with us.
okay. Okay, so what we're looking at there that's the Sno Pro. But what they're in the process of doing is they're making a plug, and what a plug is the representation of the final form. And from this plug, they're going to make a mold. They will take the reverse of the mold, and that's what they will then build the fiberglass part inside of. So what you're seeing here is probably past the design and prototyping phase. Now they're into the plug phase. So the design at this point has been frozen. They've decided on what the shape is going to be, and now they're physically actually making the plug for the mold.
Nice. I think we have a couple more shots of it too.
Yeah, you see them. Yeah, that's my father on the left in his wild and crazy hippie days, I guess you could call it, with that beautiful dash.
Nice.
I'm not sure who he's working with, but
Yeah, they're kind of in the shadows there.
yeah.
And here's a little closer look of it.
Yeah. You can, as I said, it's unfortunate people don't know my father's designs, but you can start to see the beginning of it right here in this nose of the Sno Pro. You can start to see all of his sort of characteristics that will carry on later in life and in the rest of his designs.
Nice. So he had some truly unique design sensibility, so to speak. And here we go. Here's the finished hood.
So this is
Nice.
This is what we pull out of the mold, and that's the finished hood, obviously.
Nice. Very sharp. And here's the finished sled. And that is a sharp looking sled. I have to say the lines on that are very beautiful.
Yeah, they're ahead of their time back in those days.
Yeah, for sure. And this must be applying the decals or the painting the letters, or
No, that's absolutely a decal.
the decal. Sure.
Yeah, for sure. Let's See them applying the hood. See this along their assembly line of in the race shop. Because this, I looked at these. I looked at these slides beforehand, and we unfortunately we don't have a lot of great photos of the production facilities, but we do have a fair number of the racing section. So maybe the crowd,
Sure.
this crowd will be more interested in the racing section than the production slides.
And from what I think you were telling me yesterday when we spoke on the phone, I think they had the production area for the commercial sleds on one part of the building, and then they had a separate section to assemble the race sleds.
Absolutely, and it's pretty. It's when you see, if you see all the slides, it's for a small company like Alouette, when you compare them to what they were up against at the time, it's an impressive little race shop that they had.
Yeah, for sure.
Here we got some guys bringing in the aluminum chassis.
Nice. And it looks like the engine's been attached to it.
Yeah, and the exhaust system too, which is a big step in it.
Sure.
I think that's a stage photo for the
Sure.
cameraman.
Sure. It did the trick, though. It tells the story. Sure. Here's another angle.
You got a better view now of the aluminum, tunnel and complete tunnel chassis.
Yes.
It's funny. The front end is very, very basic design, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just. But interesting the ways that the skis stick out on the outside of the hood.
Yes. Yeah. Here's some assembly. And I don't think these are in chronological order because this one, the engine's not in it yet. Sure. But it's just kind of a look at the sled. That we're probably going more backward than anything. But the suspensions, the rear suspensions, it looks like.
There we go, another front view of the frame chassis.
And it's neat to get an inside look at the production facility. Go ahead, what?
Yeah, what my father, I remember telling me that these guys were pretty good with aluminum. That
Sure.
There were some pretty skilled workers in there that knew what they were doing with a TIG welder.
Nice.
That's a menacing front look.
Yes.
There we go.
Here we go. And I think that's the last of the slides of the Sno Pro. And
not a lot of protection there.
No. For sure, yeah. But we've got some comments coming in. So the order of what we're going to do here, I think, is we've got plenty more to look at, but I want to take a few comments, and then we're going to do a couple of announcements. We're going to talk about AMSOIL, and then we'll get back. There's plenty more images for us to look at and plenty more stories to tell and all of this. But I do want to take some comments and questions. Let me find my place here. We've got Brian Taylor, a first-time viewer from Windsor, Ontario, said he would like to know all about the AX 125 motorcycle. And you're in luck, Brian, because we have some images of that, and we're going to be talking about that later in the podcast. So that's an excellent question that you asked, Brian. David from Alaska Railroad say good evening to Rob and Mark.
Hi, David.
And David from Alaska Railroad's a regular viewer, by the way. And we get someone on Facebook saying the 1973 Alouette Super Great Sled. Cool deal. And then our good friend Jim Layton, he's been on this show many times. He says, hey, everyone, still have a ton of snow up there in northern Maine. Very cool. Now we've got Brian Kelly saying he worked for Alouette in 1974 in the Research and Development Department on Louvain Street with Gilles Villeneuve. Wow, there you go. So it's quite possible he would have known your father. Is that possible?
Good chance. That's the facility that's up near the Garment District, the Louvain one.
Gotcha. Okay. Now we've got someone on Facebook saying Alouette's entry for the new 1974 Sno Pro circuit was the legendary twin track. Yes. And let's see, we've also got Mark Sperandillo. Thanks as always for a great podcast, Mark in Connecticut. Well, thank you for viewing. We appreciate that compliment. Oh, pardon me, I've got a tickle in my throat tonight. David from Alaska Railroad says these photos are very interesting. It's awesome seeing the building of the sleds from those days, for sure. Now, David also says it's amazing how those sleds resemble the Rups. Yes. And Reese Fleury says, how many of the Snow Pros were made? Do we know that?
I don't know, but there is a photograph, and it's pretty impressive when you see how many hoods are lined up. And you wonder, it's like, how many crashes can they have in a season that they need so many hoods?
Sure.
Well, if you knew Villeneuve, he had a lot of crashes.
Yes.
Well, the more likely his brother Jacques, who was crashing the hoods, than Jill.
Yes.
Sure. And then my good friend John Spranger Jr. says the Canadians built some awesome race sleds. Very cool pictures. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now we've got someone on Facebook saying, great work. Keep up the Snow Pro. And then Stephen Burdick out west. I think he's out in Idaho, or maybe it's Oregon. I think it's Oregon. But anyway, he says he owns a small collection of Alouettes. Yes, he does. And he's had them on the podcast here before. He says, I was just looking at the 340 Super, wondering if it is the one he currently owns. How cool. That's entirely possible that it made it out your way. And let's see. Then we've got Armand Buto from Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. I was spending some time with him just last Saturday in Island Pond, Vermont. He says they've got a new layer of snow in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, and they're still riding up there. And also our good friend Josh Leverker, who's been on the podcast many times. He said those sleds were great looking and fast. Absolutely. Well, cool. So that's it for comments for now, but we're going to shift gears here. We're going to talk about AMSOIL for a few minutes. We're going to do a couple of quick announcements, and then we're going to get right back into it, folks. We're just getting started. We've got plenty of images, plenty of stories, and plenty of opportunities for comments, questions, and all the rest. But if you're ready, Rob, I'm going to put you full screen and give you a chance to talk to us about AMSOIL.
No, I'm not ready. Yeah.
Run away.
Good evening, folks. All winter long, we talked about the snowmobile, the Interceptor, how it gives you more horsepower, more performance, and how AMSOIL gives you an extra year warranty on all the machines. So if you bought a new machine this year, if you run to AMSOIL will give you a year warranty on it next year. Now, snowmobile season's coming to an end, and if you get one of our catalogs, you'll notice that we have a complete line of engine oils, diesel oils, hydraulic compressor, and play toys, ATV oils, boat oil. We have an ATV kits. We have a complete line of Harley products, 20W50, the primaries and transmission oil for all the Harleys. We have the Metro oil for the Gold Wings and all that. We also have the dirt bike oils. We have the side-by-sides and the ATV oils, and some comes in kits. So if you want more information about all the products we have available, or if you want to know how to buy it directly from AMSOIL and save 25% on all the discounts, get a hold of Mike. His email and his account number will be on the bottom. We'll send you a free catalog, tell you more about AMSOIL, and for only $10, you can get a preferred account. By being a preferred account, you save 25% on all the products you're buying. If you buy $100 worth, they're going to give you an extra $5 coupon. You do that 4 times, you get a $20 coupon. The following year, it only costs you $20 to renew, so you can get your renewal free. And right now, if you order $49 for the AMSOIL, free shipping. It's normally $100. But from March 22nd to April 11th, you order $49. Because some of our Harley kits are under $100. So if you order a Harley kit or an ATV kit, you can have it shipped to you free for only $49. For more information about the AMSOIL product, Mike's settle number his account number should come across the bottom, and how to order a catalog to tell you all about the AMSOIL products.
Absolutely. Link in the description for everything we've just talked about. And I have to say that when you click those links and order using my referral number, Rob and I both benefit. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm signed up as an AMSOIL dealer under Rob. And when you order through us, Rob and I both benefit. It's a wonderful way to support the podcast because the commissions I make, the AMSOIL commissions I make, go directly towards supporting this podcast and offsetting the costs associated with this podcast. So I thank everyone who's been ordering AMSOIL using my referral number, and I thank you in advance if you're considering it. And like I said, everything's in the description, links and everything that you need is there to get started. And the only thing, other thing I wanted to talk about is I've got an event coming up. I was just talking about our good friend Josh Leviker. He is hosting an event in. It's going to be Memorial Day weekend in Lowville, New York. All of the details are here on the screen. It's going to be a wonderful show. I would love to go, but we've got plans to go camping that weekend. But it sounds like it's going to be a really cool show. So, pardon me, if you're curious about that, Lowville, New York, Saturday, May 27th. It's going to be a great show. By all means, check that out. We're going to take a couple more comments, and then we're going to get right back into talking about Alouette. Here we go. Okay, Steve Woodward is saying Mark is too far from the mic. Oh, yeah, if there's any way, Mark, you can get a little closer to your device.
Sure.
There we go. That'll make for better audio. Thank you for telling us that, Steve. We appreciate that. Brian Kelly says, I'm a first-time viewer from Hudson, Quebec. Just joined and talked to Daniel, who told me of the podcast. Oh, and I meant to, I owe everyone a big apology, especially Daniel. Daniel Beauchamp is a good friend of this podcast. He's been on here many times. Daniel is the one who introduced us to Mark. So I need to give a big shout out and a big thank you to Daniel Beauchamp for making this all possible. So yeah, and I apologize for forgetting about that. But I'm glad we caught up with that and we've got that straightened out. Reese Fleury says, cannot wait for that show. And I think Reese Fleury lives out in that area. So he'll be going to that show in Lowville. Well, cool. So I'm going to switch gears here. Going to get a different folder open. And in a moment, I'm going to be popping the Super Brute on the screen, and we can start talking about that. It just takes a few clicks here to make this happen. And there we go. Yeah, Mark, take it away. Any comments about the Super Brute?
Well, it looks familiar. I've ridden one of those several times. We still have one. We still have one. That's
nice.
It hasn't been ridden in a while, but it's it brings back memories. That was my father's last design for Alouette, and it was probably in my opinion, probably his best of all the sleds that he did. And it's
a lot of innovation in that sled.
Well, with the unique, the turning headlight was really the most innovative feature of that sled.
For sure.
We see it again in the factory.
Yamaha Phaser copied that, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, my father didn't come up with that idea off the top of his head. He stole that from Citroën cars with their headlights that follow the steering wheel. That's where he got the concept from.
Sure, and he translated that into something that could happen on a snowmobile.
Exactly.
Nice. Which still a lot of innovation involved there. So, yeah, to take that from a car to a snowmobile, there's a lot of innovation that had to happen there.
Well, just putting the two and two together is, looking at the Citroën and saying, "Hey, I can do that with a snowmobile." Is a pretty nifty connection.
For sure. And if I understand the materials you sent me, I think they came to me through Dan, but I think there was a 10-year copyright or trademark or something on that concept, and once that expired, then Yamaha picked it up. Do I understand that correctly?
I don't think that Yamaha waited. I think that what happened was that Alouette, after it had changed hands and went to RUP and whatnot, I don't think Yamaha was concerned that anybody was going to go after them, that they just took the idea and ran with it.
True, yeah. True,
I think
true.
that the Phaser comes out before 10 years after this. I think the Phaser's inside the 10 years.
Yeah, I think you're right, because the Phaser is, 83-ish, give or take?
Yeah, 82 maybe.
82, yeah, I think you're right. So that would have been well inside 10 years. Yeah, absolutely. Good point. And here are the gauge clusters.
Right, and that is the gauge cluster for the Super Brute. What you don't see is there's another piece that goes around it that has the handlebars on it. That's
Oh, yeah.
So that is actually part of the Super Brute.
Yeah, nice. Here's a close-up of what we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
An even closer look.
Yeah,
Oh, prototype. Yeah.
that's just a prototype of what it will look like in the end. It's
Nice.
just, again, inside the factory. When you
That
look
is a
at
really sharp looking sled. Go ahead.
when you look inside some of these slides of the factory, it's really quaint in comparison to the way things are assembled today.
Sure.
It's almost as if somebody's doing it in a very big garage. It's just like, yeah, we're going to go out into my garage and start building snowmobiles. It's really, it's
Nice.
not at all that compared to where things are assembled today.
How many
For
people
sure.
were in the factory?
I'm not sure how many were there, but it wasn't massive. That's for sure.
Wow. And you're right. I'm sure today everything's all computerized and automated, and yeah, I'm sure production is done very differently today.
I mean, there wasn't any moving assembly line. Everything was moved by hand. It was like, okay, we're going to slide the sled from here to the next assembly point. It was literally just, pick it up with an overhead crane or roll it on a dolly.
Wow. That's cool.
There we go on the outside photo.
Nice. So that's all of the slides we have for the Super Brew, but we've got a ton of comments coming in here. Let's go back and check those out here. I think this was the last one okay. So here we go. Someone on Facebook is saying, unlike the 1974 Sno Pro twin track Alouettes, several 173 Alouette Supers were built as they were not exclusive to the factory team.
That must be why there were so many hoods.
Good point. Yes. Yes. And then our friend Stephen Burdick is saying, interesting, the hood is missing the vents.
Huh. You're right. You're supposed to have the vents right at the front there. I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, I didn't either. But of course, Stephen is probably in his man cave standing next to one and comparing that to the images he's seeing on the screen. That's a cool position to be watching this from.
Tell him to send us a picture of his.
Yeah.
But I do know that the picture of this particular sled, is not a complete sled because there's another photo of it and it's missing the interior, one of the dials that goes on the interior steering cluster. It's actually missing one of the dials. They didn't. I guess they didn't have a dial, and they quickly took it outside for promotional photos.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
so this might be a prototype or something, late stage prototype or something.
I don't think it's a prototype. I think it was just hadn't finished production. That it was pulled off the line for promo photos.
Gotcha. And then they brought it in and finished the production.
Yeah.
Sure. Now we've got someone on Facebook wondering if this was made for cross-country racing.
Not that I've ever heard of.
Okay.
It was just regular pleasure market.
Sure. And then Reese Fleury says Ski Rule had that headlight also. Okay. And then Stephen Burdick, oh, pardon me. I've got a tickle in the throat tonight. My apologies. Stephen Burdick says those are not Super Brute pods. Okay.
Pods?
Yeah, I don't know if he means the handlebar cluster. I'm not sure. Oh, wait. Okay, he's got another comment here. Snow Brute pods. And then he says the 84 was the first phaser. He says the exhaust hole is different on the production sleds. And then David from Alaska Railroad says, I've never seen a front suspension like that. He's got a question for Mark. How did that coilover shock setup work compared to a regular leaf spring sled?
Well, they work, but in comparison to modern sleds, they're terrible.
Sure.
They're horrible.
We've come a long way, yeah.
I mean, as I said, I haven't ridden that sled in a long time, but I do ride a 1988 Yamaha Enticer 340 long track, and that when we got that sled, that felt much more modern than this sled, and it wasn't. That's what 13 years older in 88 versus 75, and the Yamaha Enticer now feels like an antique compared to modern sleds. So this is you get what you get for 1975.
For sure, for sure. And then let's see, we've got Brian Kelly. 84 was the first year for the Yamaha Phaser, but may have come in 83 and called it an 84. That's possible. And then Stephen Burdick says also the hand grabs on the rear of the tunnels are missing too. And then John Springer Jr. says the 440 and 76 had a liquid cooled Zibora engine that Rupp used also. And then Brian Kelly, pardon me, says big problems with the hoods with new motors overheating. And then Stephen Burdick says suspension was called the Skizorber.
That's
Cool
right.
deal. I did not know that.
I forgot.
Nice. That's one of the cool things I like about the engagement on this podcast is all this information going in both directions. It's wonderful to be in the middle of all that.
Yeah, some of these guys have this sitting in their garage, eh?
Yeah, that's a real cool vantage point to be viewing this podcast. For sure. So those are all the slides we have for the Super Brute. Let's see. Now we've got another folder here with just some production photos. I think they're working on a hood. Let me pull that up and see what kind of comments we can get going on that. Any thoughts on that, Mark?
That is, can't tell if that's just prototyping or if they're starting to make the plug.
Okay.
And I don't really recognize what model Alouette that is. Hard to tell. But
maybe some of our viewers will know. But go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
So I'm guessing that they're prototyping, and they've probably taken an existing sled or chassis, and they're now working on next year's model shape. Is what I'm guessing at. And they probably started with something in foam core to shape it, and might have gone to, after they've done it and did it in foam core to get the shape, they may have gone to wood, or they may have gone right on top of the foam core. I don't know.
Sure.
But that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah. And here's a different angle of it.
Yeah, you can see all the rough sanding on the ground from ferrying it.
Oh yes, you're right. All the debris there. Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy with a flying putty. And I'm looking, and I can't, it's funny. I can't, from the shape, I can't really identify it right away.
Yeah, me neither. Now, is this your dad standing here?
That's my father. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And that's
very cool.
But this may be from the 60s, because that's not mid 70s. That's not his look from the mid 70s.
So this is earlier in the game, probably.
This may be from late 60s, early 70s. I'm guessing for the year of that.
Sure.
By looking at my father.
Oh, and we've got some comments coming in. We've got Stephen Burdick saying thank you so much for having Mark Smith on tonight. Cool. You're very welcome. And then John Chatterley says Silver Cloud. Is it possible this was a Silver Cloud that we're looking at?
That would have been my guess also. They had a sled called a Silver Cloud that they stuffed a rotary engine in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how well that did. I never rode one, so I can't tell you how well they worked or even how well they sold. I mean, I don't really know what happened to the Silver Cloud.
Sure.
But now that you say Silver Cloud, that's probably what it is. It looks most likely like that.
Sure. And then we get someone else saying it's possibly the mini Alouette.
No, it's not. Definitely not the mini Brute. It's
definitely not. Okay. It's too big.
Too big for the mini.
Yeah. And then Reese Fleur is saying the Brute maybe, but it doesn't sound like it. And then he says, Stephen Burdick says, I don't think that machine was ever built. He said, check out the different Skizorber. Let me go back through these images here.
And the gas tank doesn't seem right neither. Like, you're going to open a vent at the front to fill the gas tank?
And what engine?
Good point.
And the other thing is, what engine is there? Is that you see it doesn't look right, but Stephen Burdick may be right. It may never have been produced.
Yeah, it's possible. It's just some experimentation there.
Exactly. You don't know. I mean, you design these things, and the client may say, "Yeah, I don't like it. Try again. Just give me something else."
Yeah, sure. And then we've got Josh Levicker says it almost looks like a Mercury Sno Pro hood. That's true. Let me get a better angle. A little bit, yeah. Very similar lines and dimensions. Yeah, I see where you're going with that. And then we've got Josh Levicker is probably standing next to a Mercury Sno Pro. I know he owns one, so that's cool. Hopefully, I'm assuming most people watching this are in their man cave, maybe even sitting on a vintage snowmobile as they're viewing this, maybe on the cell phone, which is a real cool thing. Stephen Burdick says he owns a Silver Cloud and it's not a Silver Cloud. Okay, cool. And then it's cool. We've got collectors of these things. Go ahead, Mark. What?
Can we find out how that Silver Cloud works? Did it perform with that rotary engine or not? I have no idea. I've never ever heard any feedback on the Silver Cloud.
Good question. Maybe someone will know. And then Stephen Burdick says the engine looks like a Sox SA2 340 or 440. Reese Fleury says it is a Sox. Mark Sperandio says it looks like a Sox twin. And David from Alaska Railroad says kind of looks to say like a Sox on the engine. Oh, and yeah, there was some lettering on the engine. Let me see if I can. Yeah, could that be Sox? Yes, it is. Now that I get my face on the screen, yeah, it says Sox. Yeah, yeah, good call. Yeah, this is very cool. I love this feedback and this kind of exchange we're having. It's a little community all hanging out, and we're just exchanging ideas and ideas and information here. So let's see. We've got another folder. Now I've got some random images. This is a more recent image of your dad. I think this was taken in 2019 at a Vintage Snowmobile event. And that image on that shirt that he has there, I believe he designed that sled. Do I understand that correctly?
Correct. That's the famed twin track. That's the one that Villeneuve drove to fame and glory.
Nice. That's cool. And immortalized on a T-shirt, no less. Very cool. And again, this is your dad in 2019. Go ahead.
And my brother, my parents passed just recently. My brother got the T-shirt. I didn't get it. He quickly grabbed it.
Sure.
Who got the twin track?
I still have that for now.
Nice. Nice. That's cool. And then we've got some random images, black and whites. These must be publicity photos of some Alouettes back in the day.
I have no idea who any of those people are, but I've seen that photo several times. I think they use that quite often.
Yeah, I could picture that in a magazine ad or something back in the day. And this is on the production line, I believe.
See, now that hood looks similar to the hood that we were just looking at.
Yeah. Good point.
Maybe that's what it is. What is that?
Possible, yeah.
And
there's some lettering on the tunnel. It says 440, and then I can't make out what it says to the left of the 440. Right, I'm circling it with the mouse. I don't know if wait. Can you see me circling it with the mouse? It's
yeah, I can't read it.
Yeah, I can't either, even with my face on the screen.
Old bogey suspension. It may be a snow duster.
Possibly, yeah. And then another angle. Is this a different sled? Yeah,
that's a different. Didn't have the logo on.
A different sled, yeah. Yeah, a different sled altogether. Nice lines on those sleds.
I don't know what model that is, but that's not a bad looking sled.
No.
There's the Mini Brute.
There's the Mini. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
That was when we were little kids. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, I can imagine. So when you were a little kid, you were riding one of these?
Well, we didn't have one, but every once in a while, my father would bring it home for the weekend, and every neighborhood kid would come swarming over.
Yeah.
The Mini Brute's here this weekend. The Mini Brute's here this weekend. But my parents everybody had to wear a helmet if you were going to go on it. And so we have all kinds of home photos now of neighborhood kids with hockey helmets, football helmets, someone's ski helmet. All kinds of crazy helmets can get on the mini brute.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that
That's
thing
cool.
did the kitty cat.
Yeah.
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 Better
Kitty cat
lines
would
than the
get-
kitty cat.
Kitty cat would get stuck. That would go through it.
True. And this was more the lines I think are prettier on this than the kitty cat. I love the kitty cat, but it was kind of boxy. Nice. Let's see here. We've got a couple more folders. Are we ready for the Samac?
We're going to see the 125.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's do that first. Yeah, good call.
Right. We had a viewer who was interested in the 125 earlier.
And there it is.
Yeah. Now that was a quick design prototype to put into production. They came out with that super fast to compete with the Bombardier Can-Am. They didn't really do much. They didn't do much testing. They didn't do much. A lot of design. It was sort of, here's the shape of a motorcycle. Let's go.
Yeah. Because when those Can-Ams came out, that was kind of a big deal, as I remember it anyway. In our town, it was kind of a big deal.
Well, I can tell you this: the difference between the AX 125 and a Can-Am 125 are night and day.
Sure.
I mean, I'd love to say I like the Alouette better, but the Can-Am was a better bike.
Sure.
No doubt
sure.
about it.
And this is your dad in the red shirt on the right there?
No, I have no idea who those two gentlemen are.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah.
But you can
Alouette
see
only make the one motorcycle?
It's like making one motorcycle at a time.
No, but they only made the one size.
They only made, this was it, the one model, and they only made it for a few years because I guess when Rupp took over, Rupp didn't want to continue with the motorcycle, so it was only made for a few years, 2 years, maybe 3 years at most.
Sure.
And they didn't, and the production numbers. You can see the gas tanks. I don't know what the production numbers were. You know, I've heard 800, 1,500, 3,000, but they weren't big numbers for them. I don't know how many they actually end up doing, but it wasn't huge.
Sure. And this is what, fenders here?
Yeah, front fenders.
Yeah.
Fiberglass front fenders. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Not even soft plastic.
Wow.
Easier to repair.
That's the motorcycle I learned to ride on.
Wow, that's cool. Very cool.
In a farmer's field.
Nice.
You still have that?
Still have it. Yep.
Oh, you still have it. Wonderful.
Yep. That's a 125 Enduro. And when that bike came out, and my father, he started as a daily driver. He would drive it from the West Island to downtown Montreal every day to and from work in the summertime. Well, for the couple summers that he was doing. And even one time with me on the back, we drove from Beaconsfield, Quebec down to Napierville to watch the drag races over the Champlain Bridge, down the 50 to Napierville, and then back up and home on the way home on the 125.
That's amazing. Very cool. Now we got more comments coming in. Let's see here. Just finding my spot where we left off here. Okay, Stephen Burdick says the Silver Cloud has a single rail suspension that Arctic Cat reintroduced on the Alpha. A good point. Yeah, just in the last few years. And Greg Martin says, great show. Thank you, Greg. We appreciate that. Roger Cormier says, Eliminator 440. Maybe that's the mystery sled he's wondering.
Oh, no.
And Josh Leverker says, how many 72 Junior Mini Brutes were made? Our club just purchased one for this coming year's sled season for their raffle as a fundraiser sled. Any idea how many of those were made?
I haven't got a clue. And I think the Mini Brute sort of falls into the same category as the 125. I don't think it was a big seller. I don't think they made a whole bunch of them. I think it was a very limited run.
Sure. Now, Brian Kelly, he used to work at Alouette. He says he worked on that bike as well with the Sachs motor.
It has a Sachs motor. Yeah.
Cool deal. And then Brian Taylor says in 1973, 350 were made. 74, about 900 were made.
Yeah.
And are we talking about the Mini or?
This is the
Or
125.
the
The
120.
horse
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. We're talking about the bike. All right. And, oh, yeah. Brian Taylor says he'd love to have those molds now. I imagine there'd be some value to those. Brian Taylor says, I keep track of all the AX VIN numbers. Cool.
Yeah.
And then Stephen Burdick is asking, where is Mark Smith from now?
I'm in Beaconsfield right now.
Nice. West of Montreal.
Yeah.
And Brian Kelly says, Featherlight sold and eventually Coleco bought out and filled the warehouse with hockey games. Interesting. So that facility was eventually bought by Coleco.
Well,
and
when they
do I understand?
No, when they moved to Coleco, that's when they moved down to Point St. Charles from
Okay.
the Chabanel area down to Point St. Charles when they moved to Coleco, when Coleco took over.
Gotcha. All right. And Brian Taylor is saying that pick of the AX he thinks might be a mock-up.
Could be.
Sure. Nice, nice. I love the feedback like this, how we can interact this way. This is wonderful. And I think we've got one more folder. Yeah, I think our only folder left now is the SAMAC, and we were saving that for last, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me pull that up. And this is a very innovative sled. I've got some questions of my own about this, and I'm sure others will as well. Let's get that on the screen. So this is a dad. This is a sled your dad was involved with as well, correct?
Yeah. So this happened many years after Alouette. This happened probably around 1980. I guess probably around 87, 88, because the Yamaha Enticer, the 1988 Yamaha Enticer I was talking about earlier, we bought to use as a test sled. So this must have been right around 1988. What happened was we were approached by some people who had were doing a job for the federal government. They wanted somebody to design a machine for the high Arctic, specifically for the high Arctic, for the needs of the Inuit trappers and hunters. And so we did some research, and they told us sort of the things that they wanted. Obviously, it was a long track that they needed. They wanted a high windshield to protect themselves from the from the long rides. Wide stance. They wanted a trailer hitch on the back. They had to have a rack to carry 2 5-gallon jerry cans. So the rack on the back of that fits 2 5-gallons perfectly. And they had to be able to haul a Comatic, one of their cabooses, but a loaded Comatic with, I don't remember how many elk or polar bears or whatever it was that they were hunting, but there was a certain weight that it had to haul. And anyway, so
for big game.
For big game, for elk and caribou and whatnot. And so this was the result, and it worked. It worked very, very well. It's unfortunate that when we had finally gone through all the sort of prototyping phases, this one that we're looking at was one of the last ones. I could tell by looking at the steering bars, there's no instrument cluster there, and they want that removed. There was originally, we had an instrument cluster there, and for some reason I don't remember what it was, but they wanted it out, so it was removed. The key gauges are on the hood. That you look down on the hood to see the gauges. Sure. Anyway, that was the genesis of that, and we ended up building about a dozen of them. And this was phase 2 of the SAMAC project. This was a floating sled. That's a foam cord chassis tunnel, and it actually floats. It's got a 340 engine in it.
So it had buoyancy. That tunnel had buoyancy to it.
Exactly, and
the skis were full of foam too.
We thought it was a great idea because you fall through the ice up there, you got about 30 seconds before hypothermia is pretty much
Yeah.
going to take you, for good. At least this way you could be standing on your sled and you'd get a soaker, but you wouldn't die.
Yeah, you try to paddle your way to the edge or something.
Yeah. Anyway, the Inuits were impressed, but they sort of kind of laughed at it. It's like, yeah, well, when one goes to the bottom, we just sort of call the government and ask for another one. So a lot
Ouch.
of
Ouch.
anyway.
Sure. Now, are those concave skis?
Honestly, they're floating skis. They're foam skis.
Oh, they are. Okay.
They're not. No, they're not. They're foam skis. I can't remember what's on the bottom of them, because there is something on the underside, and I don't know if it's aluminum or it's steel or not. I can't remember, quite frankly. I'll have to look. It's out in the country. Still have that one also.
Oh, you still have that?
Yeah.
We'll have to have you on the podcast sometime again for a walk around of that.
Yeah.
Or even if you want to just take your cell phone with a camera and walk around, hold it horizontal like this, and walk around it and talk it up. We would love to have that on the podcast sometime.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I should have done it beforehand, but
well, that's all right. It's just an excuse to have you on here another time.
That's right. Next time. Well, I'll get better slides next time too.
Sure. And then we're saving the best image for last. And here's your dad on the Samac.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So they only built one of those?
Only one. Yeah. Only one is. And we're like, yeah, this is a great idea. It's like, yeah. We let them go to the bottom, get a new one.
Unreal. Well, let's see. We've got some last comments coming in. Here we go. Brian Taylor says he has 5 of those AX bikes.
Wow.
Cool deal. And then Stephen Burdick says, go ahead.
That's got to be the largest concentration of Alouette motorcycles anywhere.
Quite possibly, yeah. For sure. And then Stephen Burdick says, can you imagine how cool that IFS suspension on the Semar would have been on a mid-80s Alouette Super Brute? Good point. And then our good friend Glenn Ford says, what was the sled powered by, the Samac?
The Samac sleds, I'm going to get the name wrong of them. They're ultralight engines that we bought from the upper Midwest in Minnesota. And I think Cuyuna, Cuyuna, I think.
Yeah.
It's something, I'm not spelling it correctly, but I'm pretty sure that, or CU, yeah, I think it's CU. Anyway, that's who we got, where we sourced the engines for the Samacs.
Nice.
Quite good engines.
Yeah. And then James Spranger, I'm going to give a shout out to James Spranger. He's the twin brother of my good friend John Spranger Jr. And he's paying us a compliment super show tonight, and he's a regular viewer from Wausau, Wisconsin. And I'm going to indulge for a moment and I'm going to show you a picture of his twin brother John and I over Christmas. We got together for lunch. He's from out in Wisconsin. He managed to be out here for the holidays in Vermont, and we got together and had lunch and had a really nice time. So just as a shout out to James, pop up a quick image of his brother and I. And then David from Alaska Railroad says, awesome show. I learned a lot tonight. Very cool. Appreciate that compliment. And someone on Facebook says this was a great show tonight with fantastic pictures. Oh, and here we go. We've got information on that engine. Mark Sparandio says Cuyana, Cuyana maybe?
That looks like the spelling.
Sure. And Mark, do we know where that was from? Is that North America or Europe somewhere or Asia? Or be curious to know where that was made. And then my good friend John Spranger Jr. says, awesome show tonight. See everyone in October and be safe. Cool deal. Well, we'll see. We'll give it another minute here and see if Mark comes up with an answer as to where that engine might be made, the origins of that engine. But we are going to wind down the podcast. It's the top of the hour, and we are winding down our 3rd season. We've been doing this podcast for 3 years now, and we've managed to build up a loyal following, and I thank you guys so very much for that. Thank you also to Rob for being a regular on here each and every week, and for Mark coming on and all the viewers. It's been a wonderful 3 years, and I hope we can keep going as many years as that in the future, and hopefully more, with any luck at all. And over the summer, we're going to try to come up with some more innovative things to bring to you. Let's see. We've got Stacy and Art Fosler saying, great show tonight. Cool deal. And
Daisy.
oh, yes, our mascot.
Oh, she's sleeping.
Oh, she's sleeping.
Come here,
Uh-oh.
Come here. Give me a girl.
And let's see.
She is.
There we go. Let me put you full screen.
Say hello, Daisy.
Daisy May. Or Daisy Lou, right?
Daisy Lou.
Yes.
Yeah. She likes to sleep on my feet.
Nice.
Great
show's
show, Mike.
mascot.
And you do a great job putting the events on.
Well, thank you so much. Oh, we've got some
Hope you
answers
have a great
coming in.
summer.
So,
We'll
Reese Fleury. Yes, Wednesday. Yes, in fact, yeah, we do a muscle car podcast every Wednesday night. Be sure and join us for that. Links in the description. And Reese Fleury says the Cayenne was later a J-Lo. And we've got some more information about the Cayenne. Is from Scorpion in Crosby, Minnesota, according to Roger Cormier. Wonderful. Oh, and here we got a flood of comments coming in here. David from Alaska Railroad says there's Daisy Lou. And Mark says Massey had a Cayenne in them later years, if he remembers right. Massey Ferguson must be the ski whiz.
Yeah.
And Stephen Burdick says great pictures that represent the history of one of the great sled companies back in the day. Thanks for sharing. And then also someone on Facebook is talking about the Racers reunion at St. Germain, Wisconsin, August 19th. Is that the Scorpion reunion, or am I confusing that with something else? I think I'm confusing that with something else, but yeah.
Or is that Mercury team?
Tripar. Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. And then Reese Fleury says, thank you all for a great show. See you in October. And yeah, we're at the top of the hour, so it is time to wind it down. But
great information, Mark.
Wow,
you got a nice collection there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark.
If we do it again, I'll bring better photos. Yeah, as I said, my parents passed, about a year ago, and we're still hoeing out their house, and we're finding this and finding that. And I'm sure there'd be more slides to be found somewhere. So, and I'll get them transposed to a digital format, so easier to share with everybody.
Wonderful. Yeah, and any memorabilia or anything like that you happen to stumble on, and yeah, we'll have to have you on again next fall, and continue this. Oh, here we go. Let's put that full screen. That deserves to be full screen.
Yeah, I found this. I found this the other day. I'm not even sure what it was. I guess it's an Alouette emblem, and I don't know how it attaches. Anyway, I found that in amongst my father's things.
Wonderful. Very cool. And it's wonderful that we have the ability with this podcast to try to keep that alive, and honor that and celebrate that. But wonderful. Well, cool. Any final words, anyone? Any parting thoughts before we wrap up the season?
Well, thank you for having me.
Great information, Mark. And Mike, thanks for everything you did all winter.
Yes, likewise. Thank you so much. And Roger Cormier, it's a great job. Keep it up. Lots of neat stuff. Brian Kelly, thanks. Great show. We'll see you next time. We're at an antique show, or maybe Ormstown for sure. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful summer, and we will catch you on the other side. Last word, as always, goes to Amsoil. Have a wonderful summer, everyone.
You too, Mike.
Hello, everyone. This is Rob and Mike. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing good. Mike, yourself?
Very well. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Now, today, we're going to be talking about Amsoil. And in a few moments, we're going to show you how you can get the deepest discounts, free shipping, and free gifts when you order your Amsoil products through us. But first, I'm going to ask Rob to give you a quick description of what Amsoil is and why you should consider using Amsoil products in your motorized vehicles.
Thanks, Mike. Amsoil is 100% synthetic oil. Everybody uses Amsoil for a different reason. Some people like the benefits that Amsoil is warranted for 25,000 miles or 1 year. The reason we can do that is because Amsoil doesn't oxidize. It doesn't form the usual carbons, gums, sludges like petroleum oils do. That's why we can keep it in the engines longer. Petroleum oils never do wear out. They oxidize themselves. That's why they have to be changed at 3,000 kilometers. And Amsoil likes the benefit that you only have to change the oil once a year. That saves some money. Some of the people like the benefit of Amsoil is it's a slipperier type lube. By having a slipperier type lube, it cuts down friction drag. By less friction and drag, engines run 20 to 50 degrees cooler, better gas mileage. Now, AMSOIL says 25% more protection than the industry requires is in the AMSOIL bottles. My average customer gets about 10% increase in gas mileage. That's a big savings.
Yeah.
And by cutting down friction and drag, for every 10 degrees you cut down the friction and drag, doubles the life of the engine. So by having the engine run cooler, it makes it last longer. Some people like the benefit of the range of the AMSOIL. AMSOIL's flash point is 425 degrees, and it pours at 50 below zero.
Wow.
If you ever try petroleum oil when it's 10 below, it turns to honey. And in the summertime, petroleum oil thins out, and once it thins out, that's when it starts breaking down. So AMSOIL's an all-season oil, can give you better gas mileage, longer engine life, less maintenance. It ends up being cheaper over a year's time running AMSOIL than it is petroleum oils.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And AMSOIL is available for pretty much any motorized vehicle, anything from lawn equipment, cars, trucks, boats, ATVs, motorcycles, snowmobiles.
Yep. And a lot of people phone me up and say, well, what's the benefit of our gear loop? Exactly what I told you about the engine oil. It pours in cold weather, it runs cooler, makes the equipment last longer. And they say, well, what's the benefit of the small engine? Same thing. Makes the engine run cooler, last longer, better performance. So it saves on all the applications that AMSOIL has available.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, let's talk now. Hopefully this has convinced people to think about maybe joining us in the AMSOIL experience. Let's talk about some of the discounts and free shipping and how that all happens. I'm going to pop a graphic on the screen. And yeah, by all means, if you want to talk people through how this preferred customer program works.
AMSOIL has a number of different programs. One of our main ones is a catalog customer, where somebody can order directly out of our catalog. If they order out of the catalog, they order $100 worth, AMSOIL will ship it right to their house. But our best program is our preferred customer. For only $10 for 6 months, you become a preferred customer. You save 25% on all the product. You order $100 worth, they're going to give you free shipping. You don't have to order a whole case. You can mix and match. Say you want 4 bottles of small engine, 7 bottles of 5W30, and a couple of gear loops. You can mix and match. You can order 1 bottle at a time if you want. There's no minimums, no maximums. By being a preferred customer, you save over 25% on all the products you're going to buy. AMSOIL sends you extra gifts, a $5 gift certificate on your birthday, $5 when you renew your account, and stuff like that. So it's a good way to save on some of the products you want to buy.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, it's an incredible value. And this is the deepest level of discount that anyone can get when ordering AMSOIL. Is that correct?
It is. It is.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's take people through the step-by-step experience of placing an AMSOIL order. Then that would include signing up for the preferred customer preferred customer program, so they can receive those deepest levels of discount. So let's go to the website. This is what the website's going to look like. These are some screenshots. Once you go to amsoil.com, there's a link in the description, or you can just type that into a browser, amsoil.com. This is the page you land on. At the upper corner of the page there, you see how I've circled in red. That is the link to click, the Join Now link. That will take you to the Preferred Customer Program page, where you can take advantage of all of these discounts and free shipping and everything that we've just been talking about. This is what that page looks like. In the lower right, you're going to click Join Now. This will pop up. You select the duration you'd like, whether it's 6 months or 12 months, and click Add to Cart. Now, once this pop-up goes away, you'll be back on the main page. And the upper left, you'll see where I've got that red arrow. It says Shop. Now you can start shopping for products, and on your very first order, you're going to get these discounts and the free shipping as long as it's over $100. You'll get all of these benefits right away. So once you click Shop, it's going to take you to the product page. There's different types of oils, lubricants, so on and so forth. For the benefit of this exercise we're doing now, I'm just going to click motor oil. It shows different types of motor oil. Let's click gasoline. Now this takes us to an item. It's their synthetic motor oil. And you can see the item there, and there's choices for different viscosities. But take a look at the price. Let's take a closer look. Let's zoom in. But if you've joined the preferred customer program first, you're going to automatically get the deepest levels of discount. That's what we're looking at here. You're saving $3.80 on that quart of oil. Instead of paying $16.29, you're now paying $12.49 for that quart of oil. That is the deepest level of discount you can possibly get. And then you just add the quantity that you'd like. You select any other items that you're thinking about, add them to the cart. And once you click Add to Cart for the final time, you're going to see this come up at the top of the screen. It's going to show your items and your the total that you're at so far. Pardon me. And then you just click View Cart in the upper right, and that'll take you to your cart. Take a close look here at the upper right. That blue box shows that you're getting free shipping. You're eligible for free shipping on this order because it's over $100. That little yellow box shows that you've got the preferred customer membership on your order. That gives you the deepest levels of discounts for the next 6 to 12 months. And then below that, you've got the items that have been selected. For the exercise here, I selected 9 quarts of the signature series, but that brings us up over $100 for the free shipping. We're saving $34.20. And if you're ready to finish, you click Checkout Now, and that takes you to this screen here. If you haven't signed up with an AMSOIL account at this point, just click in the lower right to create an account, create a new account. It's going to ask you for some basic information, name, and those types of things. Now let's take a closer look. You'll see this gray shaded box. This is a very important box. This is going to ask you if someone has referred you to AMSOIL. And if so, please enter my name. My name is Mike LaPierre. It's spelled right there on the screen for the correct spelling. And also the referral number, 304-555-94. That's how you make sure that Rob and I get credit for this. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I have signed up for AMSOIL under Rob. So when you order using this referral number, Rob and I both benefit. So if you enjoy these podcasts that we're doing, this is a wonderful way to support the podcast, because when you order using this referral number, Rob and I both benefit, and the commissions I make go directly toward offsetting the cost of doing these podcasts. So I thank you in advance for that, for using my referral number. I very much appreciate it. And once you've done that, you just go into the next screen to enter your payment information, and you're done. Now, once you've placed your order that's over $100, and that order includes your AMSOIL Preferred Customer Program, you are now eligible to get a free DVD from myself. Now, this is going to be either a muscle car DVD or a vintage snowmobile DVD. Use the email address on the screen, wkspodcasts@gmail.com. Send me an email. Let me know which DVD you would like me to send you, the muscle car or the vintage snowmobile DVD, and I'll get that right out to you. As you're typing in that email, in the subject line, be sure and type in capital letters "free DVD requests" so it stands out as I'm checking my email, and we'll get that right out to you. So I guess the last thing, Rob, that we wanted to talk about is if someone is considering AMSOIL as a business opportunity.
Yes. If anybody has a retail or a commercial account and they would like to buy directly from AMSOIL, just send Mike a line. He'll show you how to set up, and you can buy directly from AMSOIL. But if you are interested in starting your own part-time business, a part-time business that can grow into a full-time income, Mike and I will show you the AMSOIL marketing plan. AMSOIL has a large selection of products that cover almost every application. So it doesn't matter if you're into snowmobile, boating, or ATVing, or hot rods. We have an oil for every application. It's a fun type business that's I really enjoy doing. Where else can I go and have fun and make money doing it? And Mike and I are here to help you all the way along. If you need any help on how to promote or to find new accounts, we're here to help you.
For sure. So when you sign up under that number, this 304-555-94, you're getting Rob and I as a team. Now, Rob has been doing AMSOIL for 40 years. Can you believe that? 40 years. So he knows every aspect of this business, and he knows all of the ins and outs of the products. So he'll be able to help you with any kind of product questions or any kind of questions to show you the different business models that you can do with AMSOIL. And then the other thing that you get when you sign up under me is I've got a strong background in social media. So if you need some coaching on how to generate AMSOIL leads using Facebook and YouTube, I'm happy to coach you with that when you sign up under Rob and I. You get both of us as a team to help you, to coach you, to support you, whatever you need to get you off and running with this business and having fun with it. Like Rob said, it's an enormous amount of fun. If you're like Rob and I and you enjoy going to any kind of boat shows, car shows, motorcycle shows, snowmobile shows, anything with a motor, you like going to those shows, those events, those races, this is a great way to turn that into a income opportunity for you.
Yes. And just by wearing my AMSOIL hat at one of these events, people come up and ask me about AMSOIL. People don't know where to buy it, and I'm there to help them, show them where they can buy the product.
Perfect. Well, cool. Well, this is great. Any final thoughts, Rob, before we wrap it up?
AMSOIL's a fun business. AMSOIL's been around since 1968. It was the first synthetic oil to be AI approved.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's very early in the game too, isn't it?
Yes.
For sure. Well, good. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for viewing. Hopefully, we've gotten you excited as we are about the AMSOIL products. We'd love it if you could join us either as someone who uses the AMSOIL products or to join the AMSOIL team as a business opportunity. And we thank you so much for viewing. Have a great day.
You have a good day.